Karen, it's so good that you were willing to stop by the studio and chat a little bit about your involvement with the Volunteer Recognition Dinner. First of all, what is that and when is that?
Thank you for inviting me, and it is November 4th. It is one of the biggest events that we have here in Lansing, and in my mind, one of the most significant events. We recognize all of the volunteers, not all of them, but every organization nominates a volunteer, and we take the opportunity to just recognize their service.
So first of all, these are organizations that are very much engaged with volunteers, or volunteers are an essential part of the organization. Can you describe, for example, a little bit about these organizations and how they've come together for this event?
Sure. We send letters out and contact them. We look at all of the churches that are in Lansing, service organizations, scouting, schools. We just go through the phone book and look at any place that might incorporate volunteers. If you have an organization, if someone out there has volunteers and they have not received a letter, please contact me, because we would love to have your people be a part of this.
Now you're using the collective we. Who is the we? Is this some big organization or a group of volunteers recognizing volunteers?
That's about it. It's a group of, about 10 people right now. This started 10 years ago with a vision of two ladies who wanted to really think about what makes Lansing great. And the more they considered that question, volunteers came up. And so over the years, it has grown to a board of 7 people, and we have additional people on the board that just are volunteers. They are not voting members of the committee, but they're volunteers. No one is paid. It's just something that we want to do to enhance our own community.
So tell me a little bit about, for those who've only heard about it, there's this special night. What is it, like the Emmy Awards, or where is it? And again,
like
when
that.
is it?
Yes, it's November 4th, and it's at the Serbian Center. It's a nice event. People get dressed up. We get a lovely dinner. And then each person who is being recognized is called to the front. Little short bio is given on them. Their picture is taken. They get a beautiful plaque with their name on it and their organization. And everybody claps and cheers, and it's just really fun.
And as you're talking, we're showing a few of those scenes from previous volunteer nights. I'd like to ask you about your own experience as a volunteer, perhaps as a way of encouraging those who say, well, I really don't do much, I just have some of these other interests. You've been a volunteer for years and in many different capacities. Talk a little bit about your volunteer work and what it's meant to you, first of all.
Okay, well, I am a volunteer diver at Shedd Aquarium. I've been doing that for 15 years.
A volunteer diver, so you
Yes.
actually go into the aquarium.
I do, in the Caribbean Reef exhibit. I feed the fish.
You swim with sharks.
I swim with sharks. And I love telling people I'm 75 years old and swim with sharks. Now, don't let anybody tell you you're too old to do very cool stuff.
There you go.
And then I realized I want to do something in my own community. And so I started volunteering at the food pantry, and that is really where my heart is. I met some of the most amazing people that volunteer there, and I thought, this is how I want to be when I grow up. People that are really up in years and yet are giving and cheerful. And then when this opportunity came up to serve on the committee, and this is only my second year on the committee, I thought, what a wonderful way to just encourage people to have them look around, because there are so many places you can volunteer. When you go to this dinner and you see these people come up, and this last year we had 50 people that we recognized from a very diverse group in age, from a teenager to people that are over 90 years old. that we can't sit back and think, well, I'm too young or I'm too old or there's nothing I can do. There's so much you can do. And in my experience, I have found I have gotten back so much more than I could ever possibly give in being a volunteer. It is a very satisfying thing. And I just can't say enough about how inspiring this night is. If you've never attended, try and come. It costs $25 for adults, $15 for children, and you will just be amazed at what is going on in our town.
Now that's happening early November, so how would I sign up? Where would I make a reservation? Where do I pay my $25? How do I go about that process?
You could call me, and I will be glad to give you that information. My number is 708-829-0212, and I'd be delighted to give you the information.
So you personally are the one responsible for not only signing up people, but also helping to organize this?
No, not really. You call me and then I'll direct you. I'm not the big kahuna of this, no.
For many, many years since LNN, Lansing's Neighborhood Network, began initially on Channel 10 and then Channel 4, we have utilized numbers of volunteers every year. Much of the programming that's here on Channel 4 is dependent on the use of volunteers.
Right.
And I'm sure there are organizations you're involved with, the food pantry as an example. We often say that there really is no way of compensating or paying volunteers for their work other than to say, thank you. Is this dinner, this kind of getting together and acknowledging at least the work and describing a little bit about the multifaceted volunteerism going on in Lansing, is this kind of the background of what's behind this committee's work?
I believe it is, yes. And from the pantry's point of view, when we were first approached to submit the name of a volunteer, we didn't do it for about 3 years.
Really?
Because really, we thought, how can we single out a person? Everybody is so important in our organization. Some people are more visible than others, but everybody is hugely necessary. And then June Cole pressured me one year, and we had quite a conversation, and she talked me into nominating someone. And our first volunteer was Bill Muslar, who was, I don't know how many years he volunteered here, and he sadly passed away last month and will be sorely missed. But I remember that first night being just awestruck. And we have submitted a volunteer's name every year since. So I would say that to organizations, don't, explain to your people how this works. And it's not that you're saying the other people are not important. You're just bringing your organization to the attention of the community.
You have that group, the organizational people, but I don't have to be a volunteer or participating in volunteerism just to attend. If I'm just thinking about it, would this be a good place for me to kind of explore the possibility of getting involved with some kind of volunteer work here in Lansing?
It would be the perfect place. The perfect place, because you will be exposed to all of the opportunities that are available here in Lansing. And the other way you can participate is by being a sponsor of the event, because there is quite a bit of expense involved, and we want to keep the cost as low as possible. And so we have various levels of sponsorship, anywhere from $25 to over $500. And by doing that, your name will be in the program. I also have information about that too. But that is very necessary. So many businesses in Lansing have been so generous to us, and not even outside of Lansing, because they believe in this kind of an event.
So you'd love people to help you sponsor. You'd love organizations to nominate some of their members. And if you've never been involved in either the event or in other kinds of volunteerism here in Lansing, that's another reason to attend.
Absolutely.
Karen, you'd love people to, or organizations to submit these nominations. How quickly must that be done, and what's the final deadline for getting these nominations in?
Well, it's coming up rather quickly. It's September 9th is the deadline for this. And again, call me and I can send out a form for you, because not only will you submit their name, but just a very brief bio on what they do for your organization.
Now that's for the nominees, and you need the lead time. Why so much lead time for something like that?
Well, we need to have the plaques made.
Oh, they get plaques.
Oh, get a plaque with their name and organization on it. It's personalized. And they also, when they come up, we have a DJ, and she tries to choose music that goes along with what you do for your organization.
With your particular event.
Oh, yeah. So there's a lot that has to be done for the person who's nominated. So September 9th is the date for that.
And it'll cost what, and when is it again, and where is it?
It is November 4th at the Serbian Center, and it's $25 for adults and $15 for children. And this is an important one because it's our 10th anniversary.
So that's all the advertisement stuff. Before we go, Karen, thank you again so much for being here, and you're such an example of multifaceted volunteerism. But as a last word, what would you like to say to the folks, the Lansing's neighborhood network of folks here who watch Channel 4? What would you like to say to them about being a volunteer and recognizing volunteerism?
Well, I just can't say enough to encourage people to do this. No matter how old you are, no matter what your physical condition is, there is something you can do, and it will just make you feel so much more a part of our community.
Well said, Karen.
Thank you.
Karen Adams, thank you so much for stopping by, and we'll remember November 4,
Serbian Center.
Hall, Serbian Center, the Volunteer Recognition Night. Thanks for stopping by and telling us about that.
You're very welcome.